It's very balmy compared to the last. Yeah, I mean, shorts, T-shirts, we're ready to go, I think.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It was 1 yesterday when I got out of the car, and today it's 19. So.
Fur-lined flip-flops ready to go.
Hey, joining us this morning, Jim Becker, Deb Eckelberger. Good morning.
Good morning.
Jim, did she tell you how my morning started out yesterday?
No.
Yeah, I get this text message of her barking out orders.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah. It was meant for her husband.
No,
but,
it meant for my sister.
Oh, for your sister.
It's for my sister.
But I got it.
I got it, yeah. That was funny. And then I say, love you on it, and he sends back, love you too. Forgot about that, yeah. That was good.
Good thing you're not receiving messages from Luke.
Yes. And I thought,
Well, thanks for the interview this morning. We appreciate your time.
Gotta go.
Gotta go.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it's been a little while, but there's been a lot happening and some things we probably should catch up on, and then some things we need to ask you because there are people in the community asking a lot of questions because they're not just hearing about things that you guys are working on, but they're actually seeing things that you're working on.
we do stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's catch up with you on what you've been working on over the last couple months.
Well, we are in the middle of building a 20,000 square foot warehouse down at the industrial park. We have a company that is a local company that's expanding from about 15,000 into 20,000 square feet.
Wow.
We hope to have them in there. We're still looking at about 15th of April. It's going to be, it's been challenging with the weather, getting the building built, getting the concrete poured. I mean, the whole 9 yards. The frost in the ground's at about 40 inches now.
Yeah.
So we've had heat in that building for over a week, just trying to get the frost out of the ground so we could pour the concrete. But we're in the final stages. Once the concrete's in, 5-6 days later, the sprinkler guys will be here, along with the electricians. Garage doors should be up this week. It's moving along It's moving along quickly now that we're inside. So hopefully 15th April or so we'll have the company in there. End of April we're hoping to have a ribbon cutting and a nice sound press release, and it's going to be a good news story.
For about, 12 years, 15 years, I think all the work down there has been more inside. So people haven't really had a chance to see, and you've talked about this for years, the number of employers down there, the people who are actually going in and working. I mean, these numbers are increasing. But now, the last couple of years, you've been able to take care of the outside facilities, get rid of some of the older buildings, put up new buildings. So people are now seeing that, and I think starting to say, oh, wait a second. What's going on down there?
There's a period of time there where you really had to take care of the brownfield-related issues. You had to work with DEP and the consent order and an agreement with the court system and AK Steel. And when I say brownfield site, I'm talking hard metals in the soil. It was a steel mill. Don't let your kids play in the dirt and eat it. That's our brownfield issues. But you still have to go through the court system anyway and get all these agreements in place. But right now there's 22 tenants down in the industrial park, just under 300 employees amongst them.
Wow.
And 4 of them are in expansion mode right now, which we think is exceptional. Titusville's never on any site selector's radar map. These corporate giants who help steer corporations into locations. We're too far away from a major highway. We are our deep sea water port of Oil Creek rarely qualifies. So we have some issues when it comes to outside companies moving in. But when you have local companies and great entrepreneurial owners who are willing to take risk and they're investing in their companies, and we're there to help them, be it in workforce or creating new facilities, infrastructure, trying to help them position themselves to be stronger for the long term. So, one of the things we talk about often is, even during this last economic downturn, we didn't lose a major employer in town. For a town of 6,000 people, there's not a lot of communities that can say that.
Well, and I'm going to say this, because I think this is quite a fascinating look at things that are happening on the economic level. But you have Salvage Direct leaving town. You have a lot of talented people there, but yet you have a lot of local businesses who see how much talent's there, and a lot of them are able to be scooped up and brought in banking or financial institutions. I mean, there's that eye to say, hey, there's talent and we're in a position to hire and we can get these guys and gals.
Yeah, the Salvage Direct story is it was a good one from the beginning, and it fits about every corporate model where it starts in a garage and gets Ben Franklin venture capital related financing to help it grow. They become the fourth largest in their industry, and then 3 and 4 merge to become a solid 3, and then now the number 1 in their industry has taken out the number 3. So it's unfortunate. We've reached out several times to the purchaser. Even when the rumors were flying around, we could rarely get a return phone call out of them. But once the word came out, Debbie in particular was in contact with a variety of companies in town talking about, have you reached out to Salvage Direct, to try to keep that workforce in town. In many cases it worked. We have companies that had made phone calls directly to Salvage Direct to talk to them, and they were very cooperative, actually.
But I mean, because you guys were proactive, because businesses were smart and they could see the talent that was here. I mean, we kept a lot of really talented people in this area.
Yeah, and we really did, and it's fortunate for the community, because when we get those types of smart, talented, I don't want to say middle age, but younger, a younger workforce almost in many cases, we got to keep them around here. I mean, that's the future of this community continuing to grow, is that young, educated workforce.
Jim, I want to ask you about the site selection that you mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, and you mentioned brownfields along with that. Do you find that since you've moved past the brownfield issues and now there's a building that's actually physically taking shape there, that people can kind of touch or wrap their hands around, that it's a little bit easier for a site selector to notice?
Well, the issue with the new building really didn't have anything to do with the brownfield site. The new buildings, building new buildings in today's environment is cumbersome. Stormwater management planning in the middle of a 200-acre site that we are the adjoining property owner of all the way around it added $20,000 to the project and I get it, and the way this is, the way the stormwater management plans have been used in greater metropolitan related areas makes a lot of sense. In rural communities, I'd be happy to challenge that. But there's, we got through that. We're getting through that. There's, I would argue that the transition of the Polanco complex behind the football field a few years ago was the game changer, where a lot of people actually saw something happen. It wasn't just the infrastructure being done, because we had to rebuild the entire park. We now have a full electrical service coming into the park at one point of entry, natural gas coming in at one point of entry. So it was a lot of ugly, heavy lifting that had to be done to prepare the site. And that was done long before my arrival. So but that Polanco project, when we tore down some buildings behind the football field, the skeleton of those buildings was still in great shape. We had to replace two verticals and one horizontal support to a 60-ton crane rail in the main building where that high bay is located.
Wow. And you didn't do it just to do it.
Oh, no.
You did because somebody needed it.
Yeah, we had a company, a local company, Grand Valley Manufacturing, that had been eyeing that building for years because they do large, heavy steel operations. And the bones were good. We were able to convince the state to invest, give us $1 million in an infrastructure development grant, and then a $1 million low-interest loan. And then the authority put in about $600,000 into that project as well to create a multi-tenant facility down there. So it's Grand Valley continues to expand and put in more machines and hire more people. We have 3 of the 4 spaces down there are occupied. The 4th one that's not occupied is not fully renovated yet. We were running short on money as we were finishing up the project, and the price that was quoted for one smaller building down there I thought was excessive. So we put the infrastructure into it, so the electric and natural gas and everything is in, the lights are in, but it has not been skinned yet. We haven't done the skin and the roof to it yet. That can be done locally for under $100,000. So we've left that as an option for a tenant moving in. But that one, all of a sudden, I mean, I used to sit in the football stands when they were shooting off the fireworks going, hit it. Hit that thing. And then after we had it done, I'm sitting in the stands with my son one night. He came back from Clarion. He's like, the fireworks are going off. He goes, not looking for him to hit it now, are you? I was like, no, probably not. So, but that's one that really garnered a lot of conversation. People could see something happening, a physical change.
And they like the fact, and in a small town, rumors fly, and oh my gosh, they're going to tear it down, and my dad used to sit up in the rafters and watch football games on a Friday night, and they can't tear it down, and no, you guys were saving it.
Yeah, and there's a generation in this town that have never seen the lights on in that building until now.
Yeah,
which is kind of cool.
I remember being a kid, you'd be watching the football game, but you'd look into that building and the sparks are flying and people are sitting up in the rafters, and what a great time.
Yeah, we're proud of that one, that's for sure. And it helped a local company grow and expand and invest. I mean, one of the foundations in that building alone, when they poured the concrete, it was 4 feet by 7 feet by 110 feet long. That's a lot of concrete in the ground. And that's a company making an investment. They're not going anywhere. They're investing stuff to make their machining and their equipment to make them more competitive globally. And we took care of skinning a building for them. So it's a pretty easy trade-off.
Deb, you've been here now for what, 25 years?
Feels like it some days, but about 3.
About 3.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you first came here, it was, there wasn't, hey, let's kind of ease into things. It was, we're going. But it seems like the last year and a half, you've almost doubled what you did the first, 6 months to a year when you started. I mean, it's just you've been constantly going, and I know Jim's been constantly going, but there's a lot of things that you've been working on.
We do a lot. We do. I'm much better off busy than I am not busy, believe me. The idle mind is a devil's workshop for me. But for instance, we talk about workforce a lot, and we formed an HR group here, which meets the second Wednesday of each month, that I think has been very helpful to the community. It brings them all together, and when we have those young professionals like Jim talked about that we would like to keep in our area, we share resumes of people that are looking for jobs, or some of the attendees even bring people that they know along with them to our HR group to help them get exposure. That's been very helpful, I think, for the community to learn about. This month, on March 12th, is when we meet at noon in our Town Square building, and we're bringing in an attorney that's an employment law specialist from McDonald Illig in Erie. His name's Dan Miller, and he's going to talk about social media and cell phone usage in the workplace. So that's kind of a topic they've asked about.
Hold on 1 second, let me get this. Scheduling it.
Yeah.
It's been an issue in our office for quite a while, so we're...
That's right. But we just facilitate it. It's what the group and the members want. So we always check with them what they have an interest in or what is most important to them. It's a free lunch. It's a brown bag luncheon. It lasts an hour. They're very busy. Oftentimes the HR person could be the plant manager, could be the owner, could be a small little 4-person office, or 100 employees. We welcome everybody to attend. So
seems like a great opportunity. When you talk about a smaller company, they don't have time to ship somebody off for a day or two to go to a conference like that, or they might not be able to pay the couple $100 for some sort of a conference. But you're saying this is a 1 hour in town, free.
We're looking to expand it too in different ways as well. We've been doing some research in other communities and other ways that they do business outreach to the HR staff, and maybe like a library of information that they could rent out, just sign out for free and use as training, or bringing in additional speakers that are maybe a little more high-end that we might have to charge a minimal piece for, but they're right here. So just looking at some other ways to expand it and grow it, because, and for us, we get them all together. So if I want to let them know something, I have them all together. It's just wonderful for me that they come to us as well.
And what's been, I think, an unexpected, really cool thing that happened here is these people are now calling each other.
Oh, yeah.
wow.
We have
That's
HR
awesome.
people and business owners calling each other to ask each other questions. Have you seen anything with this? You know, I'm thinking about doing something with healthcare. Have you done anything with it? And it doesn't even involve us.
No.
But they're now connected, and they're able to share experiences and share client. You know, in some cases clients, in some cases providers. And we don't have to be in the middle of it. It's really been
They're stronger because of it.
yeah, absolutely, and they
Yeah.
can talk amongst themselves. They come up with topics, then Deb's able to help put it together and facilitate it. And it's been an interesting watching this thing grow. Has been really interesting.
So do you guys kind of pick the topics or what you want to talk about, or do you get feedback from others who say, "Boy, it'd be interesting to hear"? You know,
Oh, the cell phone usage one is definitely from them. Yeah. But, I mean, sometimes it's a mix. Sometimes I know that WEDNet training dollars are available and open, so I bring in someone to talk to them about WEDNet training. Someone may come to us, like Todd Sturgeon was a recommendation from another business here that works with risk management in a company, and they encouraged us to ask him to come and talk to everybody else, and now he's reaching out to other businesses in the community to help them be stronger. So it's a mix. I mean, whatever works. I mean, we had safe driving for your employees, safety driving programs. We've had healthcare renewals, training dollars. Sometimes we don't have anybody, and we just talk amongst ourselves because that's helpful as well. So we leave it flexible and important to them. It's all about them. So whatever works best for them.
great idea.
So that's been a good thing that we've done in the past. I don't know, a little over a year now. So it works out well.
Jim, you mentioned weather, and obviously it's been cold the last couple months. Has that, outside of the project you discussed, has that slowed anything else down? Does that change anything for the employers down there? And then knowing that there's some government contracts, and I mean, these folks down there are doing some pretty amazing things.
Yeah.
With the possibility of U.S. getting involved with anything involving Russia, does that change any dynamics down there?
I don't think so. I mean, the companies that we have that are dealing with defense contracts, I think it's more longer term. It has more to do with overall defense budgeting and procurement over time. But the stuff they're working on now was approved, 6-7 years ago when things were in development, and so I have not heard anything from them about drastic or significant reductions or changes. Not at this point.
That's Opportunity Park. There's obviously a lot going on at Town Square. Let's discuss some of the exciting news happening there.
Counting the brewery, we have 8 tenants now in the building already.
Wow.
The building,
And this was a big ribbon cutting just a year ago.
a little, well, about a
Year
year and
and a
a
half.
half. Yeah. Once we get the building completed and the infrastructure, done over there and the renovations, we had some immediate interest from some companies from out of town. I mean, the goal there was never to reshuffle the deck chairs here in Titusville, so we focused on companies from out of the area. One of our first companies that we were able to put in there was a company called Fluid Delivery Solutions. They're a water transportation company out of Dallas, Texas, that their regional sales representative was from the Townville area. He covered the Appalachian region. So it kind of, he reached out to us as soon as he heard what was going on, saying, hey, I think I can really use an office in this area, so he didn't have to travel quite as much. But we have Oil Creek and Titusville Lines now moved an office into our area as well. They had an office up in Towanda, New York, which
That's
they still
fairly
have.
new now, isn't it?
Yeah, the company's been here for a long
Yeah.
time, but
Right.
they were working out of a shack down there by the Perry Street station.
Down by the tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. And they decided that because of some of the increases that they're seeing in rail freight traffic, and they wanted a more permanent, better dressed place, if you will. So they took an single office in Town Square as well. The latest tenant is a company called Phoenix Specialty Inc. They are a company that sells and fabricates everything related to topside shale site applications.
Really?
The piping, the cylinders, the compressors, valves, and I mean, anything you see.
Fabrication work.
Yeah, that right now it's a single office, but we'll see where it goes from there.
Wow.
They're very
He's looking
excited.
to grow. Yes.
Hey, to go back to the freight, I don't think sometimes people realize how much that. I mean, we know because we're sitting right next to it and we hear it. And probably 3 times a week, Mark, during this show.
I know they double park the locomotive quite a bit out here, so we hear about it quite a bit.
I mean, this thing's constantly going.
Right out the back door.
Yeah, they are continuing to grow. They just completed a rail siding project for IGI down there on the east side of the industrial park. IGI did a $8+ million expansion down there over the past 2 years. It's been these guys are hauling freight for Charter Plastics, Oil Creek Plastics, IGI, occasionally the lumber industry, but that's been down a little bit, but that's starting to ramp back up. There's 2 other clients in town that are looking at the possibility. They're getting quotes from them right now, actually, for bringing in raw material via rail.
And a rail freight assistance.
Yeah, they just were awarded a rail freight assistance grant. In the latest round, we were able to be down at the testimony and support them down in Harrisburg. I happened to be in Hershey one day. They were going to be testifying the next day, so I stopped in Harrisburg, hooked up with Bob Robbins' staff and the railroad, went over to the Transportation Committee and gave some testimony about the importance of railroad. And they were able to get their rail freight assistance.
As I
grant.
recall, I think they're going to be replacing hundreds, thousands of ties.
Thousands of ties.
Yes.
There's some issues along through the valley where there's some encroachment from downed shale dirt and things like that. Some of the shale tables have fallen over and come fairly close to the line. So they're going to do a little stabilization, tie replacement, things like that with this grant. It's infrastructure, but it's not the pretty stuff, again, but it's the stuff that keeps it running.
Yeah, it makes it run.
Yep.
Yeah.
Welcome back. 8:33 is our time. It is a Wednesday morning, 5th day of March. Jim Becker, Deb Eckelberger joining us here this morning. Greatly appreciate their time. There's a lot happening in this area. Jim, obviously you do some things on the state level, and I think that probably helps a little bit. But on the other hand, the state also looks at you because of the great things that you and Deb and the entire crew have been doing here locally. So it's kind of been nice, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's... We get support from the state, and I mean, I think we put up good projects. The projects that we ask them for money for, we complete, and we complete the way we say we were going to complete them. I sit on the state board for the Pennsylvania State Board for Economic Development. I'm on the executive committee now. It has a little bit extra time commitment to it, but I thought about it for a while whether or not I should even be doing it because of the extra commitment. But there's when some of these decisions are being formulated, or plans are being formulated, and decisions are being made about economic development policy that's statewide, be it from the governor's office or be it from the Department of Community Economic Development. A lot of the ideas that are floated are good ideas and may work in a place like Harrisburg or Lancaster or Philadelphia, but they won't work for us. It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit with our community. It doesn't fit with most small communities. So being in the room and being able to provide that perspective for the more rural areas of the state, I think has been helpful, and not only for us, but for smaller economic development entities in general. So it's worth it. I think being in the room, I think, has helped. So.
Deb, how important is it to have those relationships with our local politicians, and local meaning our state representatives, state senators?
Oh, they're only a phone call away from us. We've noticed that. We do statewide things. We do regional things. I mean, we went a couple of weeks ago to support Clarion County when they have a new microgrant program for innovation that they got from the state. And there were so many of our partners there in the same room, and we all work well together. There were representatives, state representatives, congressmen representatives were there, our other economic development partners. So that connection to those, I mean, we don't want to go and tell them what to do, but they sometimes call us for advice or to have them help us or reach out to us because of our statewide connections. I think that helps us all remain stronger. Jim also serves on the Northwest Commission board, so that gives another regional aspect and helps to create programs that work well for us here locally. So it all works out well. We know we're all just in it together, and we have to work together to make it work.
Mark, it seems like even the last 6 months you've had a lot of news stories just by covering the events not only that are going on across the street in Town Square, but when you cover politicians or city council meetings, there's a lot of discussion on redevelopment type issues.
There are, and those kinds of meetings are where a lot of that information comes out. You won't find it in many other places. And for instance, the opportunities that are afforded to learn about what's going on by attending the TRA meetings once a month are invaluable, because there are so many things that are being worked on here locally that are enhancing the community, and many times that information only comes out at these meetings. That's why it's important to cover them.
I mean, we wish we could be a little more actively engaged in self-promotion, but we can't. And we get accused of being secretive and being too secretive. And unfortunately, it's a nature of the business when you have companies that are investing multi-million dollars in their company, and it's going to take time to make that investment, do the innovation, create the new product line, or whatever it might happen to be. They don't want to be out there today saying, hey, 4 years from now, we're going to be doing large diameter piping over here at Charter Plastics, so you guys go ahead and wrap up your contracts. We're going to invest a lot of money, but we're not there yet. Okay, so we do have to be a little secretive, for lack of better words.
Confidential. We sign confidentiality agreements, and we abide by them.
There's plenty of people and groups out there that are very, very good at self-promotion and
but
marketing.
I think the other side of that is, somebody like me can walk over and say, I have this idea, and I know that I can say that, and you're not going to go, to the other person and say, oh, hey, by the way, this person's going to be trying this.
Well, I think we've proven that over time, and we're a place where people can come and bounce ideas off of. We may not even be involved in the project, we've had people walk in and just sit down and say that this is an idea. What do you think?
Yeah.
Like I know anything about the plastics industry or chemical makeup of plastics. I have owners call me at 10 o'clock at night at the house saying, hey, I got this idea. Okay, go ahead.
But they're an owner. That's
just
the end
don't
of the
call
day.
me during Downton Abbey.
He looks like a Downton Abbey.
He does, doesn't he? Secretly.
Yeah, secretly.
I love Masterpiece Theater.
He's a closet one.
It's just one of those deals where, what do you tell them? That's when they're thinking. That's when they're home and they start to shut down, and it starts to create. They get this creative juices flowing. And if they feel comfortable calling my cell phone at 10 o'clock tonight to ask me a blind question,
good,
great.
You must be doing something right.
And we're comfortable in that role. If that's what they want us, if that's what we mean to them at that time, then great.
Deb, typically this time of year we're talking about a Planet 3 or Planet 4 business contest to go along with the big Chamber Month and the Chamber Banquet coming up in April. But after doing that for a couple years, it's time to try something different. What are you guys working on this year?
We noticed that one of the things we don't do well enough is acknowledge the good, strong businesses that we have here and the commitment that they have to the community. We should do that more. So in thinking about that, we thought we would create an award to acknowledge them that will be recognizing them for business performance. They were outstanding in that in the past year. Maybe it's business innovation, maybe they overcame a diversity within their company, or they have given economic support to the Titusville community. Those are our criteria for the 2014 Titusville Area Business Distinction Award. Any size business that is in the footprint of the Titusville School District is eligible for this award. They must be in business greater than 3 years, and of course the location is within the footprint of the school district. We are accepting nominations. There's a nomination form that went out in the chamber newsletter. We have them available on our website, at our office. If you'd like me to email you one, I'm happy to. We just would like to know who the nomination is and just a brief description of why they should be nominated. We're going to have a committee that's going to meet, review them. We would like to have them submitted by March 21st. We're going to review them, choose a winner, and then the winner will be acknowledged at the Chamber Annual Banquet at Cross Creek on April 10th. So something new, something to change it up a little bit, and something to acknowledge the great long-term businesses that we have here in the area.
Very good.
So it's exciting. It's fun. It's fun to be part of all these new things.
Well, it's also great that you're taking a look at the existing businesses too, and as we talked about, when you guys reach out to try to help folks not only start a business but to maybe find employment or
Expand.
You guys are there to help out with that. Jim, on a state level, and trying to secure those local funds, obviously you have to talk to the local politicians. Robin's announcing that he's going to be retiring. Does that hurt initially, or?
Oh, yeah.
He's a good guy.
Bob has been an incredible supporter of local economic development and our entire region. He's in a leadership position down there. And I mean, one of the things that I don't think a lot of people realize, so for a period of time, we had Mary Jo White, Jane Earl, and Bob Robbins all at chairman level positions, some in leadership of the entire caucus, which Bob is. And we had some big seats at the table as a region. The Northwest PA region had a lot, leadership style positions there. We're not going to have that.
Wow.
Scott Hutchinson is stepped in where Mary Jo with her retirement, and he's been a huge supporter for our whole area. That was a nice, it was a good move for us locally for Scott to get that position. Unfortunately, he's not in a leadership position yet. He's still one of the junior senators down there. Bob will be a big loss, and he really will. And it's whoever takes that position has got some enormous shoes to fill.
We talk politics a little bit, and I think one of the greatest things that you have ever said, we were talking about, and it was around election time, and all these people say, I'm not a politician. I'm going down there because I'm one of you, and blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, and it pains me to say this, and you said it, you want a politician in there, because if you don't, that ends up hurting us. You need somebody who can go down there and play the game and get us the money or fight for us.
Represent us.
Well, I've always been of the belief that we're all paying taxes. Why aren't we trying to bring some of our tax money back to our community? Because if we're not getting it, if we didn't get the $1 million in a grant for the buildings beside the football field, some other community would. That money was allocated to go out for economic development related projects. We locally have to be in the game with projects to be able to bring some of our money back to the community. And then having that political support down there and having the relationships with the Department of Community Economic Development, being able to have Secretary Walker here to do the ribbon cutting for Town Square. That wasn't real high on his list, I'm sure, coming to Titusville. But we were able to get him to come here and to do that ribbon cutting for us.
And he remembers us now.
Yeah, when I walk into these meetings, it's like, how's that building there in Titusville?
That's an important thing. Besides all of the political horsepower that you've been able to tap into, TRA has developed its own reputation. You folks are recognized now.
And that was long before me.
Yeah, like outside of being on the back of a milk carton.
Yeah.
No recognition.
Or the post office.
Or the post office.
Yeah.
And Mike Allen, my predecessor, had a reputation in Harrisburg that was stellar. I mean, he was able to make phone calls directly to people to get the results that he wanted, to build this industrial park here from the ground up. You had to convince people that it was a good idea at a time when there wasn't a whole lot of economic development related money. And before his passing, he made sure that all those people knew me as well, and the reputation of Titusville just kept going, which was a huge benefit for the community. But we're still in the middle of a lot of good projects. The next one you're going to see, that large black building in the middle of the industrial park, we have signed a lease for that building. We've also signed the loan documents. We're taking out a loan, and we are going to renovate that big black building for a company on a 15-year lease. That's another building that the bones are great, and 50-ton crane capacity, and that'll be the next one. So as you come into town from the west or from the east now, you're going to see a new building.
Wow.
And then that large black building looks like it has a burnt end on the end of it. That'll be next. That's going to start within weeks to renovate that facility. So there's a lot of good stuff going on.
So the next year and a half, you continue to see big changes, a lot of big projects, a lot of small projects that add up to big.
Yeah, I mean, in Titusville, what we consider a big project might not mean much to a Pittsburgh area, but completing a $500,000 renovation on a building like that down in the industrial park, and a tenant that then is growing and expanding and making investments in that building as well. It's a long-term project for us, and that's why some of these things end up with redevelopment authorities outside of the political realm, because it's, as an election happens and there's changes in political leadership, we just keep working on the long-term projects. So everything just keeps moving forward.
Do you guys deal with obviously the Crawford County Commissioners? They play a big role, but is there also discussions with Venango County Commissioners?
At a lesser extent, and we've talked with a couple of them, and even a representative from down there. We've talked with Lee James, and we're on things like that. If we're doing local projects, it really doesn't include Venango County to speak of. If we're dealing with a more regional project, then absolutely, we reach out to them.
Still a good relationship with Crawford County Commissioners?
Yeah,
they're strong supporters of Titusville.
Yeah, we see Francis a lot. Francis sits on the Northwest Commission Board as well, so we get to talk. We make time to talk during those meetings and during breaks and things like that. And it's another entity. We know if we need something, all we got to do is call.
You mentioned that you have owners that will call you at 10 o'clock at night on your phone. How important is it that I lost my question. I was going to ask you, where else is it that you get your ideas from? I mean, obviously you're talking to owners, but you must be reaching out to other entities that are similar.
We have some groups that Northwest Pennsylvania Incubator Association we're part of, and it's a group of smaller industrial development corporations who own property. It was an idea from 25 years ago, where all these, like the old Mark's Toys plant in Girard, that's now an incubator. The Corey Industrial Park, down in Franklin, the Ficta area over there by the tracks. Greenville, Jim Decker up in Warren has one. We have one. So it's Meadville at a point. Meadville Redevelopment Authority had a building that they were using as an incubator. Working with those guys, they have ideas as well. We have a very creative staff. I mean, the staff we're small, but mighty. They take on more than I ever thought we could take on organizationally, and we've been able to. I actually just had a talk with some of the city council members on Saturday that said there's going to come a point where we can't take on much more, because you start being everything to everybody, then you don't do anything well.
Yeah, we can't.
And we want to make sure that we
have a sign that actually says that. in
Well,
the
that's-
newsroom.
It's sad, but it's true. If you become a generalist at everything, rarely are you getting everything done well. And we don't want to sacrifice quality on what we've been able to accomplish and let things fall through the cracks. There may be an opportunity to take on some additional staff here in the future, but with some of the projects that we may be taking on. But the staff is very, very creative, and they're thinking outside the box. That they challenge me every day.
We are a challenge at times in more ways than one.
See, she took that the right way.
I understand it. Yes.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you
I
very much.
understand, yes. I got that, yeah.
They throw out, Deb comes in with driving thoughts.
I give him my driving thoughts. Whether he wants them or not, he gets them.
But you're in a very interesting position here because you're coming from Venango County. So, I mean, you're getting...
And I've done this in Clarion and Forest County as well,
Right.
and Venango and here. So I am fortunate to have all that exposure that I can bring to here. So it's good. I've been a realtor before, so I bring independent contractor experience here. So I think it helps.
See, I literally just had a gentleman who's an industrial development corporation in Bucks County, down outside of Philadelphia, called me up Friday, asking me how could he formulate a plan to partner a developer and build a building on a lot within the city limits of a town down there, because they don't do buildings. They're not allowed to own property.
Wow.
They're not allowed.
No, because they have developers on their board.
Oh.
Private
conflict of
sector
interest.
developers, and they're like, we'll take
Yeah.
care of that. You don't worry yourself about that. So there's an organization who really lives off of loans. They do PETA loans and machinery and equipment loan fund loans, and they're doing they're living off of servicing fees and things like that off these loans, and they really don't own property. And so it's new to them to step into that. So they're calling us up here saying, okay, now how did you say? We were.
Okay, you mentioned Northwest Commission. Obviously, I hear some talk about banking needs and people requesting loans or needing to get loan money out. Are people still going to the commission with their business plan and trying to start
Yes.
up businesses? Is that entrepreneurial spirit still here?
Oh yeah, without question. I think during this downturn, there was, even in commercial banking, there was a huge reduction in business loans, even applications, and that went with the economic development world as well. That is starting to pick up. We've approved a couple of loans recently. Northwest Commission has approved a couple of loans recently. So it's the same process that they've had. I've actually tried working with them a little bit on, I don't want to say loosening the standards, but the process itself, in my opinion, is a little cumbersome. So we're trying to get them to maybe make some minor changes in the process of getting loan applications pushed through and how it happens at their loan review committee and stuff like that. But yeah, they're still actively looking to put out loans, and it's a piece of the puzzle. Obviously we're not trying to take business away from the banks, but at the same time, if we can partner with banks to put deals together that make sense for the client,
Share that risk.
yeah, it lessens the bank's risk. We take a little bit of the risk, they take a little bit of the risk. We have the relationship with the business in most cases where we can, in some cases, help explain it to them. You'd be surprised that some business owners are incredible at production. They know production, and they know their business when it comes to production. You want to talk to them about the terms of a note, over the difference between a 10 and a 15-year note, and how the repayment plan might work, and they're like, yeah, whatever. I know that I need to do this.
Where's my widget?
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm sure you guys deal with that, where somebody can take a business so far
Right.
and they need help, advice. They need to get to the next level, and they're stuck.
And that's one of the things we do with our business outreach calls. When Debbie goes out and sits down and talks to a company, it's not just about, okay, how many people do you have now? How much have you spent this year? Do you have any major problems? It's where are you going next? What roadblocks? And by the types of questions that we ask, you can pick out roadblocks, and you can read them. And sometimes it's just a gut feeling after you talk to them a couple times, like, what are you thinking about? You appear to have some issues with your marketing plan. Now, I was looking at your website, and it looks like it hasn't even been touched in 3 months. what are you doing with that? And by the time you build that out, and you're able, and they garner that trust in you, you're able to bring in somebody to sit down and talk with them about a marketing plan or a website. We don't
know it all.
Yeah, we don't profess to be the experts, but we'll get somebody.
We have great resources.
Yeah, we'll bring somebody in to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it to keep a business focused on the future?
It's real easy for business owners to get caught up in making widgets.
Yep.
Because they know that process, they're good at that process, they're comfortable with that process, and that there's that comfort level. Anytime they have to reach outside of that comfort level, be it for HR-related issues, financing, marketing, if they're not comfortable there, they won't go there. They'll stay in what they know best and keep making widgets. And that's one of the purposes of this business calling program, is to help draw them out of that box a little bit and bring in someone to help them that may be able to expand their business, if it's by 8 or 10% over the course of the next year, then show them financially what that means.
It sounds like you've had some success stories with that.
Yeah, we have. And it's not due to us, it's due to these business owners trusting us to say, okay, yeah, bring them in, I'll listen to them. Because we don't want to waste their time either.
Yeah.
Bringing in someone that they perceive to be a waste of time does nothing but ruin our credibility. If they're not open and receptive to the information that's being put in front of them, and they think it's a waste of time, then you're talking to a wall. And you're, in their mind, you're wasting their time. I could be making more widgets.
Yeah. Do you guys feel that businesses here are keeping up with technology or trying to keep up with technology?
Yes. I mean, we have had some great success in the past year or so. And one business I can really specifically think of got free assistance from the federal government, mind you, for marketing plans and business development and assistance that they would have not had they not been thinking about how to upgrade their technology, how to be more competitive, how to make themselves stand out amongst their others in their field, because that's what they need to do. Yeah, I think they do.
All righty. Deb, recap what's coming up here for folks who would like to recognize a business.
Well, again, the nomination form is available on our TCDA website. You can pick it up at our office. It's available at the Chamber of Commerce. Fill them out, submit them to us by March 21st. Drop them off, send them email. We're sending them all to Jim's email address, jbecker@tcda.org, and attend the Chamber banquet and find out who the winner is.
All right, looking forward to it. It can be very exciting this year. All right, Jim Becker, Deb Eckelberger, thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Mark, what'd you learn today?
Wow. We have a great group of people doing an awful lot of stuff here, so congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deb, what'd you learn?
I'm challenging.
Jim?
Let's see. I think Mark is way too loose with his compliments about that.
I agree. I learned that if I don't do what Deb tells me to do via text message,
Right. You're in trouble.
I'm in the doghouse.
Yes. I'm so glad that went to you and not other people. I thought afterwards.
I will
my
not
God.
share what it said.
It's our secret, yeah.
Alrighty, thank you guys so much. If folks have any questions, need more information, they can contact the office.
Front door's open.
3668.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.